This is my TNA No Surrender 2009 pay-per-view review. The first matchup of the evening was for the TNA Women's Knockouts Tag Team Championships. It was the finals of the women's tournament for the Tag Team Championships. It was the beautiful people of Velvet Sky and Madison Rayne versus Sarita and Taylor Wilde. And this was a decent match to start the evening off with. It probably should have been given a little more time. And the one thing that kind of dragged this match down a little bit out of how good it probably could have been was obviously you didn't have Angelina Love in the position for the beautiful people teaming up with Velvet Sky. You obviously knew going into that match that would, make the match not as good as what it probably could have been. And the one thing was, okay, at the beginning of the match, you had Taylor Wilde and Sarita. You had them pretty much, dominate for a little portion of the beginning of the match. Then the beautiful people with Sarita being the person legal on her side, pretty much they dominated her for a little bit, kind of dragged on for a little bit. Then you saw some good back and forth action with the Velvet Sky and Sarita. Taylor Wilde did some decent stuff in here. And the end of the match comes when Madison Rayne is in the Madison Rayne. It gets a German suplex springboard dropkick combo from Taylor Wilde and Sarita, and they are the first ever TNA Knockouts Women's Tag Team Champions. And this whole Tag Team Championships things with the women's division, I don't know how long this is going to last. I'll be pretty surprised if this concept lasts longer than a year, but it was a decent match to start the evening off with. I would give it, 2 stars. Wasn't terrible, but the one thing, I think they should have had, some type of X Division match as the opener, but obviously with Daniels and Samoa Joe, that had pretty good build to it, so you don't want to, devalue that match and have that as the opener, so I guess it kind of made sense. This is the first ever, new tag team championships for the women, just opening up with that. Like I said, 2 stars. It wasn't a bad match. Next matchup was Eric Young versus Hernandez. This match, really, NA, what they did was Eric Young, he came out here. He was just he was in a suit. And Hernandez comes out here pretty much, he beats him up and pretty much squashes him. And Eric Young's doing the thing, I'm not gonna beat my brother up or anything like that. That whole stupid ass thing build up to this match. Eric Young really didn't do anything at all. Hernandez squashed him very quick. So NA for this match, no rating at all. Match that shouldn't have happened on this pay-per-view. This is something they should have just did on Impact, not a pay-per-view. Then the next matchup was probably easily match of the night, and this was the X Division Championship match with Daniels versus Samoa Joe, and this was a very good match. The one thing is, I'm going to still say they gave it a decent amount of time, but this is a match they probably could have maybe gave it, 5 to 10 more minutes, and 10 might be asking for a little too much, 10 more minutes, but at least 5 more minutes it probably could have been given, because it really was starting to pick up at the end, and you're like, I don't want this to end. But you saw a lot of good stuff in here, good back and forth action. Daniels got in a good amount of offense in here. Joe looked pretty good in here as well. And Samoa, at the end of the match, you saw a lot of good counters, good back and forth counters between them two. Looked like Daniels was actually to defeat Samoa Joe, but Samoa Joe then puts him into the Conquista clutch, and Daniels taps out. And about a 3 1/4 star match, a very good match of the night. And it was, like I said, the only bad part about it, I kind of wish it would have been given a little more time, but it was at least given probably a little more time than I was expecting, and thankfully they didn't have Joe go in there and completely dominate him and make it a complete squash match. So that was the good thing out of that match. Then the next matchup was a match that just got added to the pay-per-view at the last moment. This was the Pope DAngelo Dinero versus Suicide in a Falls Count Anywhere match. And this started off backstage. There was a backstage interview with the Pope, DAngelo Dinero, and Suicide attacked him from behind. Then you saw them fight in the backstage, fought all over the arena, came to the ring, and it was kind of a fun, match. It wasn't, a great, brawl or anything like that, but I did find it somewhat at least a little entertaining. But the one problem with this is when TNA does these type of matches, Falls Count Anywhere, or they go all over the arena and stuff like that, is the cameraing is always terrible. Like, okay, they were backstage at the beginning where I told you, Pope DAngelo Dinero got attacked by Suicide from behind, and then they started beating each other up. And then, for no reason at all, they went to the ring with the referee in the ring, which I understand the ref's supposed to be out there, not not be backstage already. But the thing is, they could have at least kept the camera back there and said, we're getting a ref, have the commentators, feed that across, not, something like that. And other parts in here, camera angles were kind of bad. This saw one good spot where they were on top of a few things, and Pope DAngelo never hit a very good elbow to Suicide. It was a decent brawl, and at the end of the match came when they had a table placed on the ramp. Suicide placed DAngelo on the table that was on the rampway, and then Suicide climbed up where the entranceways are, the little circle things they walk through, and got on top of that. Was going to do a splash to DAngelo. The Pope moves out of the way, and then he goes for the pin, and the Pope DAngelo picks up the victory. And that way, it was at least somewhat of an entertaining match. It wasn't great, but I at least thought it was entertaining, so I would at least give it 2 1/4 stars. It was at least watchable, and some parts of it were actually pretty good, or at least entertaining in my eyes. Then the next matchup was easily worst match of the night. I think going into it, everyone was expecting this to be the worst match of the night, and that was Cody Deaner versus ODB for the TNA Knockouts Championship. This match, if they were going to book anything stupid like this, should have just had ODB come out here very quick, make it like a 30-second or a minute match, and have her completely squash Cody Deaner and then get the Knockouts Championship that way, even though she already officially had it. But storyline wise, I guess he was somewhat in possession of it for a little bit, and they could have done it like that and made it very quick, and I would have actually been okay with that. It would have been stupid as hell still booking it, but a little better than just having them have a match that actually looked like was going back and forth, and it just dragged on. I mean, this match, I'm not even giving it a 1 star. I'm giving this a dud. This is it's not as bad as Jenna Maraska and Charmel, but if there's one match this year that's pretty close to being that bad, it's probably this match. It's just really bored. I was really bored about it. And ODB does get the Knockouts Championship after rolling Cody Deaner up, so that was at least the one good thing that came out here. I'm not a fan of ODB, but this is the one thing. ODB, right now, during this match, this is her officially, since they, kind of did the thing where she wasn't officially, because Cody Deaner had the belt for a little bit, and then now she's officially the TNA Knockouts Champion. The one thing is, I never have liked ODB, but she's always been so over with the crowd. I mean, why has it taken this long for TNA to put the Knockouts Championship on her, since she's so over with the crowd? Like I said, match, I give it a dud, pretty much a terrible match. Then the next matchup was for the Legends Championship versus the $50,000 bounty. Abyss versus Kevin Nash. And this actually was a decent big man match. You actually saw some decent stuff with these two. The ending of it was probably the thing that kind of really hurt in my eyes. What they did at one point, Dr. Stevie came out here. He was on the ramp with sitting on a chair and kind of going for Kevin Nash in the match. Then at one point he came out there, distracted the ref. Then you saw Daphne, I guess she was under the ring, or came out of nowhere, got in the ring. She had a taser in her hand, tried to tase Abyss. Abyss black hole slammed her. Then Nash hit Abyss from behind with a steel chair. A very vicious chair shot from Nash to Abyss right there. And then the end of the match comes. Okay, during this match, I gotta say as well, you had Mick Foley out here on commentary, and he was out here on commentary. He had a barbed wire baseball bat, so I was expecting them to somewhat do something with Abyss and Mick Foley. Now, they kind of did in some eyes. Some people might say they kind of did something to slowly build it up. I was expecting a little more than what they did. Now, the end of this match comes when Abyss is kind of looking at Mick Foley, asking for the barbed wire baseball bat, and at this point, Nash is behind him. Nash is about to get the taser, and this is going to sound stupid as hell, but this is the way the match ends. Nash grabs the taser and pretty much, tasers Abyss in the nuts with it, and that's the end of the match. And just like the other times they did the taser things within TNA, you saw a lot of smoke come out of the taser and just looked very, very cheesy. Up until that, it was actually not too bad of a match. It was actually somewhat of a decent match, but that ending kind of hurt it. At least maybe with the thing, they kind of played it off where Mick Foley was kind of pushing the bat back, and he wasn't going to completely hand it to Abyss. So maybe with that, maybe you kind of can build something off with that and have Mick Foley / his persona Cactus Jack, and have him take on Abyss at Bound for Glory, because that's one match they really need to do. And I'm kind of glad Nash won this match, because I didn't want Abyss to win the Legends Championship, and then if you would do Mick Foley and Abyss, you don't want it to be over the Legends Championship. You want it just to be like two guys want to prove which one is the more of the hardcore guy, which one can take more pain. That's the kind of match you want, not Legends Championship. So it made sense having Nash go over in the match, and I'll give it 2 stars. It was at least watchable, but the ending did kind of hurt it. Now, the next matchup was the Lethal Lockdown match. Now, this was the British Invasion of Doug Williams and Brutus Magnus teaming up with Scott Steiner and Booker T of the Main Event Mafia versus Beer Money Incorporated with James Storm and Robert Roode teaming up with Team 3D, Brother A and Brother Devon. And this started off with James Storm and Doug Williams. I was expecting a little more from these two at the beginning, because I actually am a huge fan of Doug Williams. And James Storm, he's at least decent. I was expecting Doug Williams to at least do something with him with this match. But this match right here, this is probably going to be one of those matches some people are probably going to love more than what I did. But I just didn't find it enjoyable. Pretty much just go through the way the people came out there. After that, you had Brutus Magnus come out there, then Robert Roode, so you had Beer Money Incorporated and British Invasion out there. Then you had Scott Steiner come out there. Then you had Brother Devon, then Booker T, and Brother Ray was the last one out there. And they did something at the top of the cage like they always do in these Lethal Lockdown matches. Brutus Magnus was up there, and pretty much all you saw was Beer Money Incorporated with I think it was James. It was probably, I think it was both James Storm and Robert Roode. They did a double suplex to Brutus Magnus. He stayed up there. And then the end of the match saw James Storm and Robert Roode hit the DWI to Doug Williams for the win. So the side of Beer Money Incorporated and Team 3D go over in this match and win this match. I would say 2 stars. I just thought this match at best it was watchable. Some decent stuff in it. You saw Steiner do the Frankensteiner in it. That was probably one of the high moments of the match. And the end of the match, just because I wanted the match to end, just because it kind of dragged on so long. I know some people might have enjoyed the match a little more than what I probably did, but just I didn't find it enjoyable at all. Then the next matchup was Rhino versus Bobby Lashley and Bobby Lashley's TNA debut. And this match was actually a bit disappointing. I was expecting a little more from this. I didn't expect anything excellent from it, but I was expecting a little more from it, and the ending was so weak and kind of really hurt Bobby Lashley, in my opinion, just the way they kind of did this match. They gave Rhino way too much offense. That's the one thing, with this match, they should have just had, Bobby Lashley come out here and make this, a very quick match and make it be a complete squash. Not have Rhino get in so much offense. And then, I guess since, Bobby Lashley's doing his MMA career and his wrestling career and kind of combining both of them, obviously you expect them to do some MMA elements, but not the type of the way they ended the match. They did one point in the match where Bobby Lashley, I guess, punched Rhino and, back and forth punches, a lot of punch combos to Rhino, and Rhino got busted open. Then the end of the match came when Bobby Lashley just did a KO punch to Rhino. So I guess, now we have Big Show doing a KO punch, that they've been doing that for a long time in WWE. Now you got Bobby Lashley doing the same thing. I think you should have just kept Bobby Lashley doing, the spear, or, have him, do the Dominator, even though I know he hasn't really used that much in a long time, but at least that was a very good finisher. And the spear, for a guy of his size, it actually is an okay move. I know it's one of those moves that a lot of wrestlers use, but still, it's like, the super kick. Some people can pull it off, and I think Lashley can pull the spear off well, and I think that should have been the ending, not a KO punch. I would give it, 1 3/4 stars. Then the main event was intentionally scheduled. It was going to be a 4-way match with AJ Styles versus Matt Morgan versus Sting versus Kurt Angle. But then you get a little surprise here. You get Hernandez added to this match, but Hernandez really never gets involved in the match. You see Eric Young come out there from behind and attack Hernandez, hit a pile driver on the ramp, and Hernandez is out the whole entire match. Yes, he doesn't actually come back at the end of the match. I was expecting them to have him come out at the end of the match, maybe the last minute or so, and win the title. I'm glad they didn't do that, because I actually don't mind Hernandez, but he definitely doesn't deserve this main event push. I think he deserves somewhat of a main event push, but not to the level where he's going for the world title. I just don't think he's credible enough at this point to go for the world title. I think TNA made the good decision here of, having him not even really compete in this match. Now, the parts within this match that were good was obviously everyone probably expected what parts to be good, and that's the stuff that you saw between AJ Styles and Kurt Angle. They did very good stuff, good chemistry with them two. Sting did some decent stuff in there. Matt Morgan just did his typical big man stuff, and this was more or less, this match wasn't that good, just the ending was very good, and probably one of TNA's best endings on a pay-per-view in a little while, just because I wasn't really expecting it. At the end of the match, you saw Kurt Angle's out in the middle of the ring. Sting was in there, and Sting pretty much goes out of the ring, and pretty much lets AJ Styles take the victory. AJ Styles hits the springboard 450 to Kurt Angle, and AJ Styles actually wins the World Heavyweight title. This is his first TNA World Heavyweight Championship, since the other times he was TNA champion was under the NWA version of TNA. Now this is his first time as officially, the TNA World Heavyweight Champion, and this is the first time he's held a world title since May of 2005. So I'm really excited that he's world champion now. I would have maybe liked to have seen this moment happen at Bound for Glory, since that would have been, a bigger moment to happen. But I'm really not going to argue. AJ Styles is world champion. I'm glad to see it. Match-wise, I would give it, 2.5 stars. The moment was great, though, just seeing him, them finally, in a little while, actually, have a homegrown talent go over, and this is the first time AJ's been champion under the Spike TV era of TNA, so that's real good. Now, hopefully they don't do something idiotic and have AJ Styles just have a 4-week title run and have him lose the title to Sting at Bound for Glory. Hopefully they don't do that. Hopefully whatever he does at Bound for Glory, which I'm thinking, since what they did with Sting in here, I'm thinking he would take on Sting. That's the one thing that would make sense. Or maybe a rematch, maybe just a one-on-one match with Kurt Angle, which that's the thing I really want to see. I want to see a Kurt Angle and AJ Styles match. Sting and AJ would be good, but Angle and AJ would be much better, and I think that match would work really good for Bound for Glory, so I guess we'll have to wait and see what route they go with. Overall, I would give the pay-per-view about a 6.5. It was, just an average pay-per-view. Nothing really too great about it, other than, AJ Styles winning the World Heavyweight Championship, and the X Division match was very good as well. And the thing with the Pope and Suicide was at least somewhat entertaining. Women's match was decent, but everything else was, at best, watchable. And probably even add I'll probably even add, the pay-per-view a point to here anyway, just because the ending with AJ winning it. So I'll at least be honest right there, I'm probably adding a point because of AJ going over. But I think, that was a good moment right there. And then you saw the crowd come out there, get in the ring, and just a very good moment. Glad he finally won the world title. It's been a long time coming for AJ, and hopefully they just give him a good, lengthy title run. Hopefully they don't, screw this over, because TNA's done some things like this. Joe had finally won the world title back in 2008, and he had the title for a long time, and they didn't really do much with it. So hopefully AJ, hopefully he gets, a good, lengthy title run, and hopefully he's in a good match at Bound for Glory, and they actually have him go over, because that's the one thing at Bound for Glory, you haven't had a homegrown talent go over in the main event for Bound for Glory. So hopefully this year, in October, we'll actually see it change, and you see AJ go over at Bound for Glory. So I guess we'll have to wait and see what they do with that. So overall, it was a decent pay-per-view. It wasn't a bad pay-per-view, but it isn't like a pay-per-view I would say go out your way to see. If you're an AJ fan, you're going to want to see at least the main event, just because AJ goes over. And the X Division match with Daniels and Joe was very good. So yeah, that's it for my TNA No Surrender 2009 pay-per-view review. All right, peace.